Good morning. Welcome to Thoughts and Updates for this week. As we are now fully fledged, it is very definitely spring, and although it is frosty this morning, the sun is shining. It's supposed to be a really good day today. However, of course, the restrictions that are in place mean that we are not staying at home anymore. We're staying local. I haven't gone out this morning to find a place quite yet. I'll probably start to do that in the next few weeks. I've had my first vaccination, which was fine and great. Looking forward to my second one, if that's something you should look forward to. But one of the reasons that I started doing this was because I was going out into the local area, going to various spots to broadcast from because they were of some significance. So in the next few weeks I'll start to return to that and do that. So if anybody's got any suggestions, keep them clean, stick them below as to where I can go to in the next month or so. So as restrictions ease, let's begin with some of the writing over this week of what I've been looking at for Talking Boys in terms of the boxing. Has been what's been happening over the last week. Gibraltar obviously happened last weekend with old Dillian White getting his revenge over Alexander Povetkin. And last night, obviously, I previewed the Frampton Herring fight, which did not go the way that most people in Frampton's camp wanted it to go. But also significant during the course of that 7-8 day period was that two sons of former world title holders were fighting Tim Tszyu of Costa Tszyu and Ricky Hatton's son Campbell Hatton. And of course the standout win that Ricky Hatton had in Manchester was over Costa Tszyu all those many years ago, and it started the Hatton army. It started that massive significant career that Ricky Hatton had on a global scale. Up to that point, he'd certainly been a hero in the UK and in Manchester, but after beating Costa Tszyu and getting his world title, there was certainly a massive change in the significance of his presence on the boxing stage. And two sons, we've already had Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. Make their way out of their father's shadows, but Campbell Hatton and Tim Tszyu, they'll never meet. They're their own different weights, much like Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn are. But what a story, seeing those two guys making his debut, the other winning the WBO global title, or retaining it, I think it was, down in America in Newcastle. So aside from that, I've been working this morning on Tony Sibson for Ringside Report. There's 2 or 3 that I need to get across to Brad, but I also have been working for Brad on the TV piece on Thorn, the adaptations of the Martin Billingham novels, which have got some fantastic actors in it who went on to do some significant things, and things like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones. So that's been a joy. Also talking about Dunblane and the 25th anniversary and gun crime, which I'll come back to. Also, for Scottish Football Supporters Association, stuck out some new stuff that was put out yesterday, which I'd written last week, but this week I've been looking at how has become my scurrilous pieces about how couldn't get on a bus to get to Glasgow in order to get to his job interview, and also the lower leagues, and in particular the pyramidic structure, which has been announced this week after only 3 games that Kelty Hearts and Brora Rangers are going to be in the playoff, but there's been no announcement as to whether or not there will be a final with the lowest placed team in SPFL League 2. So, also to finish off the writing bit, I have reviewed Angela, the Royal Lyceum Pitlochry Theatre, a fantastic piece, Pam Ferris, and also good old Toby Jones, which would have been outstanding to have them on stage in the Lyceum in Edinburgh, or indeed in Pitlochry. It's a co-production between the two companies as an audio play by Mark Ravenhill, autobiographical piece about his mother, which was stunning. I've listened to it 2 or 3 times. I just think it's stunning. It's incredible. Runs now ended, but what a fantastic piece of work. great. Shows what an audio play can do and how it should be run, which is a big thing, of course, now with theatres shut. Some are looking at videos of past productions and so on in order to keep the thing going. Manchester Home, in particular, the Homemaker season has been really refreshing. Royal Conservative Scotland had Into the New a week or so ago. That also bringing new work to prominence. So I end today with just two things that I want to muse upon. First of all is the Alba party of Alex Salmond. How shall I be voting? I'm a member of the Scottish National Party, so the initial thought is that you vote 1 and 2 SNP for our vagaries of our voting system in Scotland, which has come in for a bit of criticism, where we have big constituencies and you vote for somebody in those constituencies and then they're all grouped together in a big region and proportionally your votes are then divvied up, so that there is an equal representation of what the people within that region want. So if you've got a very strong vote for one political party and they've got a whole load of the individual constituencies, then the other parties have the opportunity of picking up the MSPs from the regional list, because the people who voted for their party should democratically be represented by people who they voted for. So if there's a massive vote in the individual constituencies for one political party, the other political parties are likely to pick up seats from the regional list. So the Alba party is only standing in the regional seats. So what they're suggesting is you vote for the SNP in each constituency, but if you vote for the Alba party in the regional list, what will happen is that you double your vote. So the first time you're going to put an SNP member into the party, the list for your constituency, but the Alba party will pick up seats because they will find themselves being rewarded because their votes won't be counted in amongst the SNP votes, so they'll get a proportion of the regional lists. Now, if that sounds rather complicated, it probably is. And the whole electoral system was set up and established simply to ensure that no political party became the dominant force. Now in Scotland that has not really happened because the SNP have become the dominant political force. And the reason for that is because of people's desire for independence. And the reason for that is very simply because the only political party whose prominent and real reason for existence is independence is the SNP. The Greens support it, the Scottish Socialist Party support it, Solidarity supports it, but these are not as significant as any of the unionist parties, being the Labour, Liberals or the Conservatives. Now, where we are now in our democracy is that there's a groundswell of belief that we should have independence, and there is a frustration with the Scottish National Party that after 13-14 years in government in Scotland that we don't actually have it. Principal reason for existence is the delivery of independence. So the Alba party is likely to pick up a lot of disenchanted voters, except they've only polled 3% in the polls. So are they a significant political force? The next week or so is probably going to tell. The debate between the leaders, kind of American style, during the week was really interesting. And the winner, Labour Party, Anas Sarwar, was outstanding in comparison to the other opposition party leaders. Nicola Sturgeon was under attack, struggled a little because it was constant, and the fixation that the Scottish Conservative Party has on independence and the referendum was exposed by everybody else in that particular debate. And Douglas Ross looks increasingly divorced from the reality of Scottish politics, and attempting as he is to get a regional list MSP spot from the northeast of Scotland is fascinating. Because he's an MP in Westminster down in London, he's not in the Scottish Parliament as yet. The biggest and most interesting fight in the constituencies is the Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwarth standing against Nicola Sturgeon in her constituency in the south side of Glasgow. I don't think anybody believes that Anna Sarwarth is going to win, but it's the first time there's been a head-to-head between Scottish leaders, I think, in my memory. So finally today, I'm going to say a bizarre thank you to a guy who attacked, I think that's the best kind of word to use, my article on Harry Dunn's death with some scurrilous nonsense that he clearly made up in his basement. But what he did was he highlighted the lack of intellectual rigour that's placed against the requirements of Anne Secoulis to come back to the UK and face justice. And what was interesting was that the more he attempted to sound intellectual, the less he did, but it led to a massive debate in America. Thanks to him for being a part of that, as they say in the Muppets Christmas Carol, because it has certainly shown up the lack of intellectual rigour that is prevalent by people who want to stop Anne Secoulis from facing justice. His argument was his uncle's a police officer and his uncle has told him stuff, so he has, and that Harry Dunn was speeding more than twice the legal speed limit. And his evidence? Now bear in mind, this is somebody who's lost a son, and that's what he wants to go on Twitter and do. But thank you very much. But because of that, a lot of people got information that they had never heard before. So, till next week, and hopefully for those who love the sun, it is again as it is, maybe a little warmer, and somewhere round about the local area I shall be managing to get out and tell a little bit more about the wonderful country that we live in. Till then, bye for now.